we were playing some club in Port Charlotte, Florida, and there was a band house that we stayed in, and there was some VHS tapes, and there was a Miles Coltrane VHS, and you popped it in, and there's this black and white footage, and when it focused on Coltrane, there was something about his look and the sound that came out of his horn that just, it pinned me. Like it was like hearing Howlin' Wolf for the first time,
Yeah.
where there was an intensity and there was just no BS. Like
Right.
it was just, I mean, it was religious, you know, it was a thing. And then it was, you know, I never turned back. It was just find everything and that you can find and listen to all of it. And you know, some of it was really challenging and you don't even understand it while you're hearing it, but years later you start hearing it differently, or you remember it and you go back and you're like, that's what that is. Or some of you, it's still unfolding, you know. But I mean, there's certain, obviously Kind of Blue is a great entrance point for people. My Favorite Things is a great one for Train. But for me, there was this moment live at Birdland where McCoy's taking this incredible solo, and Elvin's he's just giving him everything you could handle, and then Train comes in with this riff that it sounds like a Marshall on 10, and it's just so intense and incredible. It's one of those where on record you pull the needle back 20 times, or you rewind. So, I mean, those are moments that I think about a lot when you're playing. Like Colonel Bruce Hampton would always talk about the first 4 bars and the last 4 bars. That's all anyone ever remembers.
That's true.
And he's not wrong.
No, that's true.
The journey sometimes is incredible, but it's usually how you get in and how you get out. And that was that solo in particular is one where I think about that one all the time. Him and John Gilmore was another one, Sun Ra's tenor player. Yeah. And with Gilmore, it was just his tone and just the way he would go at things. And really a beautiful player too.
I tell people that are not into jazz that if you listen to Elvin and McCoy and Coltrane,
oh yeah,
that's as rock that's as heavy as anything could possibly be musically,
without a doubt. And they played that way and they felt that way, and they I mean there's just incredible Elvin Jones quotes all over the place, but there's this great box set, and at some point he's like, to play the way we played together, you had to be willing to die for a motherfucker. And you're like, yep.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. That's what that sounds like. And you only get to that if you're lucky once or twice in your life, where you're with people that you feel that way about, or you're playing music that feels that way. And that's, you know, when I think about my uncle and the Allman Brothers in the early days, they had that. And you could, right up to the very end. I mean, those first 2 or 3 years when they were charging down the road, that meant everything to them, to their last breath. I mean, they're all being buried together in the same place at Rose Hill Cemetery, and their lives went in completely different ways, and they weren't all tight at the end, but like they're all planning on being buried in the same place. Like, I've never heard of that. That's incredible. I mean, it's one thing for the 2 brothers, but like it's Barry's there now, and Dwayne's there now, and Greg's there now, and Greg's mom is there now, and my uncle's ashes are there now. It's kind of incredible.
That's amazing.
Kind of incredible thing. But that kind of connected feeling is when you think about the Coltrane Quartet, they had that without a doubt. That's what they were doing.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. This is actually Rick Beato 2. I've had it since the beginning of my main channel, and many of you are not subscribed. As a matter of fact, 87% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on this channel and on my main channel. This will help me get even more of my dream guests and help continue to grow both channels. Thank you.
I did this record, or this one track on a record with McCoy Tyner, and I went to meet with him, and I was just like the day before Christmas, you know, just thinking about it. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to ask him about John Cole. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to bug him. But went to his apartment, hung for a while. We went out to lunch, and then he just started telling stories. Like, I didn't even have to prompt him. And when he did, his eyes would light up. Like, it was just a different feeling. He wanted to talk about it. That was a good day. Just stacking fourths and just banging away, and just incredible. His solo record, there's so much good stuff. So much good. He was such a big part of that sound, and Elvin, of course. When I was first signed to Sony, it was Columbia. records at the time. They wanted me to get like guests on a record, and I think they were hoping to call like famous rock star friends. And I was like, well, how about Elvin Jones?
Did they say who?
Yeah, I mean, luckily the A&R guy was like, he knew, and he convinced them like, oh, this is actually a good idea.
Yeah.
And so we met with Elvin a few times, and we were going to do a record with me and Elvin and Oteil, Burbridge, and Kofi.
Oh, man.
And I went and hung with Elvin a few times at the Blue Note. Unfortunately, he was sick at that point, and he didn't last but a few months longer. But we talked tunes, we talked about things, had a few incredible hangs with him. One of my favorite moments, we would, the Allman Brothers would do the Beacon Theater run every year, and when I first joined, they were doing maybe 15 up to 18 shows, and so it was all month and then some, and a lot of nights off. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was still a lot of legendary jazz musicians playing in the city every week.
Yeah.
And so I would just head downtown and see everybody that I could. And Elvin was in town. It was around the time we were talking about doing that record, and I mentioned it to my uncle and JMO, and they lit up. They're like, oh, we've been friends with Elvin forever. And I'm thinking, yeah, sure. Well, I'm sure Uncle Butch, you were hanging with Elvin. And he's like, well, we'll come down. So we go down and see Elvin. Set one's over. We go up to the little dressing room, and we walk in. Elvin's in a robe. He sees Butch and JMO, and he just lights up. I was like, oh, they're not kidding. Like, this is real. Like,
wow.
They've been playing together since the early 70s. But the beautiful part was Elvin sits back down, and my uncle, who wasn't the most modest man, like he was, he was incredible. But I didn't see him super humble a lot. But in Elvin's presence, it was just the most beautiful sight. Like, he sat down cross-legged on the floor under the couch, and there was something about it. Just felt like there was beautiful balance in the universe. But it's like when you're around people like that, you just know where you stand. And it was a beautiful moment.